Hello and welcome to another episode of Ask Adam. Currently starting out the new year in a remote location in the upper Midwest, specifically northern Wisconsin, and wanted to make sure and got to you and all the beautiful listeners out there in a most effective way. And I didn't want to phone it in, put it that way. So I wanted to share with you some of the feelings. Didn't want to have a pre-recording or anything like that, but something that was just raw, and to check this off of the proverbial box of things we've gotten done in our podcast is we've done a remote location. So uh, hold the applause. The episode this week is unlocking your true potential, and I think that's most relevant because we're starting out the new year, and we're all looking at these New Year's resolutions, and we're looking at how we're going to tackle them. And some of them are pretty lofty goals we've placed in front of ourselves, and others are, the easy stuff. Yeah, I'm going to lose a little bit of weight. I'm going to, maybe work on doing some better writing or whatever it is that the goal is that you've set before yourself. However, maybe it's not quite cast in stone. It's just kind of a off the cuff, something you want to do, something that might help you feel better, but you don't quite feel yet committed. And so let's work on, again, with this episode of unlocking your true potential, because we all have the ability to do pretty much anything that we want to do. If you look back in just recent history of all the endeavors, you take Elon Musk, there's certain things that he's done that we all marvel and go, wow, what an amazing person, what he's doing. You take Steve Jobs, same thing, look at all the things that they've done. Well, they had an idea in their mind and they worked on it day in and day out and day in and day out. It wasn't just a New Year's resolution, it was a 3 year, 5 year, 10-year goal that they put in front of themselves that they wanted to achieve. So, not to mention, they also, as this episode shares, is they unlock their true potential. They utilize their natural gifts, stuff that they are good at, things that they enjoy doing, they put in place and created the things we enjoy. Jeff Bezos with Amazon, Steve Jobs with the various products, and the way that they all interconnect with each other. People are still chasing the ability to do that. And he was able to do it in a pretty short time. And if anything, it's just made things, they're more enhanced, if you will. I wouldn't necessarily say they're better, they're just more enhanced, but they're still working together. And again, that was something that he saw in his mind. It was an idea, and then he scratched it on paper. Remember, what we write, we invite. Scratching it on paper, discussing with some other people that had the idea or the insight as to how to implement the idea, created that mastermind group, connected with those individuals, and then created something that's amazing. And they've only, again, because they sit down, and the people that have replaced the mind of Steve Jobs, which I don't think we're able to do, probably not for another couple of decades before another Steve Jobs would come around. But the fact that he wrote down his idea and he left traces of what it was that he wanted and how to implement, that's where they've been able to continuously make the idea of the product that much better. Now, keep in mind that that doesn't necessarily last forever. I mean, here's a good example is the automobile. 100 years ago, that we were about probably 120, 130 years ago now, that we created this idea of the automobile, and look how it's evolved from then to now. And it's just this continuous implementation of making something that already exists and making it better. Remember, there's really no new ideas. It's just the idea of making something better. So unlocking your true potential is how can you make something that already exists better? Is it something you're already doing, something that's already a part of your life, something that is in your career, something that you do on the daily, and you go, man, there's a better way. There's a newer way, a more efficient way to implement something that already exists. So unlocking your true potential is to kind of dive deep, not only inside this episode, but within yourself and say, what is it that I'm passionate about? What is it that I would like to change? What is it that I can see a better X being implemented? And by kind of getting into that and understanding what it is of your true natural abilities, again, this is it's not rocket science. So many people, and I don't want to get too off course of this episode, but too many times we get hung up on we need a teacher, we need a guru, we need someone that's going to pave the way before us before we feel like it's safe to walk the path. And I'm going to be upfront. I'm going to tell you right now, you don't necessarily need that. You need a running buddy. You don't need, someone that runs before you because quite frankly, if they're running before you, then they're seeing the things that you're seeing. They're implementing some of the things that they're seeing. And I don't want to go as far as to say plagiarism, but we really live in an advanced world, and when you look at the opportunities that AI has put before us, and just some of the complications I think we're going to start seeing with that, where it comes to copying. Quite frankly, if somebody's in front of you, they can't help but discover what you are trying to discover. So that's why I want to be clear and say that you want a running buddy. You want someone who's beside you, who's kind of coaching you along to remind you what it is that you're doing. And again, that could be a mastermind group, could be a best friend, could be a stranger at a coffee shop that just happens to engage every day and say, how are you doing? And you go, you know what? My plan's coming together. That could be your mastermind group. It could be just that simple. Many of us, myself included, I got to check in once in a while. I got to meet with individuals, and that helps keep my business and my ideas growing and evolving. Because let's face it, our mind's capacity is pretty much what we are focused on, as well as what it is that is naturally or our innate ability. That has limitations. Not to say that you're limited, just to say that that has limitations. That is your particular gift and no one else's. So focus on what your gift is and allow others to help enhance your gift. I hope that makes sense. If not, please let me know and I will try to re explain. But nonetheless, you need a running buddy, someone next to you that kind of reminds you on the daily what it is you're doing, maybe why you're doing it, just to kind of fill the gaps of what you find might be struggling. Many times we get infiltrated with what I call the toxic 10, which is that we're not worthy, that we don't have an education, that um, we procrastinate for various reasons. That's a huge one, is procrastination. Self-loathing, that we're not good enough. All of these can basically impose those limitations that stop just your innate abilities from coming out, let alone how you're going to implement those. So let's try to dive into this and let's set up some new levels of growth. It's not too late. It's only a couple days into the year. And as you were following in the previous episode, I actually start mine during the winter solstice. December 20th, 21st is when I implement my new year. That's when the winter is basically completed on the celestial cycle. And now we're beginning with the days being longer. We're putting new intentions in place with our lives, and we're getting ready for that spring to start planting. So it's not too late. And here we are. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I probably glossed over that, but I've owned several businesses, participated in several businesses. I have a background in real estate, in sales. I grew up on the water. I am probably an overly well-rounded individual where I feel like I have a ton of life experience, and I appreciate that I'm able to bring that to you, as well as being a certified neuroencoding specialist. I, I bring that into my understanding. I feel that my worldly experience has given me the street credibility, if you will, as the kids say, that I've experienced quite a bit in a very short time. So when it comes to, oh, well, Adam, I got to ask you, uh, what about this? Have probably been there and done that on a very small scale, but enough that I can share that life experience with you, just because I'm a very fast learner and I've just learned things that, um, yeah, and even some things I really wish I didn't learn. But I also have grounded myself and understood through meditation, through journaling, and through finding my true self that part of all that is to be able to help you shorten that curve of learning, of understanding, of failure, if you will. And not that you shouldn't fail a little bit, but you don't need to have that full experience of failure. You really don't. And if you can kind of shave off some of the corners of this running path and straighten it out for you, that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here to do, is to help you out. So let's look a little bit into mindset for starters. In our mind, we can dream and conjure up these wonderful ideas. The mind is a wonderful thing. There's also kind of the shadow side to your mind that will also tell you that you can't do something, even though it just provided you with a great idea and a dream. So, how can we sort of combat that? How can we stop that negative thinking, the toxic 10? How can we stop any level of avoidance that seems to jump into our path? How can we stop that? How can we get that out of our way and avoid any kind of a slowdown or detriment to our growth? Because let's be honest, if you don't feel like you're moving forward, then you have a harder time sort of propelling yourself to even walk forward. Can we agree on that? So, in order to keep that motivation going, and in order to keep that your mind staying in that positive direction and always getting up and always moving forward, and no matter what's in the way, not that you brush it off or blank it out, but that you learn quick and keep moving, learn quick and keep moving. Honestly, I think that's the biggest secret, yet it's still one of the biggest hurdles in almost everyone's life, my life included. So when you're thinking about, hey, I'm not good enough, that I'm not educated enough, that I might not know about this enough, stop, first of all, because that is the wrong thought to have. It's an incorrect thought. Second of all, if you're sitting, stand up. If you're standing, simply just turn around, do a full circle, and come back to the front position that you previously were at. It's weird. It's silly. This, I hope that most of the time you're sitting down, so the simple stand up works. But again, just you got to do something different. So you from sitting down, stand up. If you're standing up, turn around in a circle, come back face front. Guess what? You have a new mindset. You have just rewired your brain in that millisecond. And as you are spinning around, not only are you kind of not thinking about something, but turning around face, but start getting into the habit of having that positive thought at the ready, that you can do something. So when you think, yeah, I don't know if I can do this, stand up, look forward, and say, yes, I can. Just that simple. Do this several times a day as needed, and keep implementing this in your life, where pretty soon it's a trigger. You might not even have to stand up. It'll get to the point where as soon as it's you go, yes, I can, and now it's done. To the point where you're rewiring your brain where that you can't do it no longer is even a passing thought. And it's automatically, how can I do it? When can I do it? At what time can I begin doing this? Is it after work? Is it a second thing that you're implementing into your life? So you got to get your day job out of the way. As soon as you get home, you're going to go do this. It could be tough. I'll tell you from the beginning, it's tough. I've worked 2, 3 jobs at the same time, and it's tough to spin those plates and keep everything going. But at the end, it's been worth it to implement that. And even if it wasn't to the success, it was still the lesson learned. And it worked on that muscle as well of the elasticity of flexibility, where you start putting things in front of you and challenges in front of you where you're creating your own busy schedule. Now, let's be sure that this isn't busy work, but it's effective work, right? So, again, going back to your true potential, and I believe it was Steve Jobs that said that you're never going to work a day in your life if you're doing something you truly love. That being said, doing what you love, implementing this new idea that you have and putting it forward, whether it's a redesign of something, a new thought, whatever it is that you're implementing, you want to bring that out in effective manner. You want to bring that out by putting things into place in that positive direction. Now, I say that going back, what we write, we invite. So first, start with that idea and sketch it down on paper. Tell yourself what that looks like, because you can envision and dream and have ideas in your head, but until you get them out, they're still in your head. And they're also still in that sort of realm of your mind that's going to tell you you can't do it, just at the same time that you can do it. So you kind of have to get it out of your head, put it on paper. Again, what we write, we invite. Now you can see it. And seeing it outside of your mind with the positive mind of I can do it, avoiding all of the toxic 10, you're kind of regrouping that a little bit as you're writing. And you may find yourself sketching it out and rewriting it and configuring it and coming up with a different way to implement part 2 and move it to part 4 and organize it. And once you get that in place and you're reading it several times, what you're reading, you're now putting back into your mind. And by doing this several times and implementing on the daily each one of your exercises of how you can do it, again, telling yourself when you do have those episodes of I'm not good enough, I'm inferior, I'm not educated, and you begin to implement small levels of procrastination to avoid doing some of the things. It may be requiring research. It may be picking up the phone and making a phone call to help create and develop your mastermind group. Again, there's many steps that are going to fall into place, and we can get into those in the next couple of episodes as we move forward with our New Year's resolution. But the big thing is we got to get past ourselves. We really do. And we got to be okay with ourselves. And that's what allows unlocking your true potential to truly be, is understanding what your gift is. One of the books I read during the dark winter was The Soul's Purpose. And Jenna Zoe is her name. And understanding what it is that you're naturally gifted at. It's a tremendous book. Take time and read it and understand what your gifts are. It's certainly going to open up the unlimited ideas of possibilities to what your gift is and how you can put it in place. I won't say that that I was far off. In fact, it was one of the things that has always been bothering me, and maybe it's bothered you, where you just keep thinking you're not living up to your best potential, that you're not doing what it is that you truly want to do. You're feeling unfulfilled and frustrated. Again, unlocking your true potential is understanding, first of all, who you are, and understanding a little bit of what you would like to do. Again, this idea is already in you. It's nothing new. You just have to get it out, and you have to get it to a point where you understand it and where you see it. And then once you see it and you understand what it is, and now you can start putting some things in place on the daily that you're implementing step by step. I remember the old saying, how do you eat an elephant? Well, here's a big animal, pretty sizable animal, right? One bite at a time. And it's the same thing with any of our goals. One bite at a time, one step at a time, one thing at a time. If you daily implement one thing, two things, three things, and start stacking them upon each other, you will all of a sudden build a house. You'll build a pyramid. You'll make something amazing. You may do the same, excuse me, you may do the same thing every day, but it's that continuous implementation of just understanding what it is your true gift is. Because once you discover your true gift, that's when I feel it becomes easy. That is almost the innate, natural motivation that gets all of us out of bed, is just not realizing that we're sleeping, not feeling tired, because you're doing something that you love, something you're passionate about. When people live these extraordinary lives, and you're like, wow, how do you live on 3 hours of sleep? It's because they're not thinking about it, and they're adjusting and building their body chemically where they understand what it is that they're doing. And quite frankly, it may seem like a little bit of a morbid thought, but many times you hear the stories of people that have had a near-death experience, and many times they will come back and say the reason they didn't die is because they're not finished yet. Their purpose for being here on this plane, in this world, at this time, is on purpose. And they get really focused on what it is they need to do, and they get to doing it. Now, does that mean once they've accomplished it that, all bets are off? I don't necessarily think it's that way, because I think our goals and what we're supposed to be doing is living our best life. So, how can we take some of those small steps to be consistent rather than trying to just start on January 1st and do something new? One of the first things I'll say, and I said it earlier, get in touch with yourself. And that you may spend the first quarter of this year, first couple of months of this year, just getting in touch with yourself. And that can be, again, simply journaling and just writing out thoughts and ideas, whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, whether it's a gratitude journal or whether it's just getting out all of the angst and hate. Hopefully you don't have that. But hey, if you're frustrated, just do it. The Nike commercial is not wrong. Just do it. If you're frustrated, if you're anxious, if you're angry, write. Write it out, get it out. And don't be intentional with the idea that you're writing an angry journal. Okay. And because you don't want to do this for a long time, my point is get this anger out. Whatever you're frustrated with, write it out. I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. Get that out quickly. Then turn the page. And the idea is once you get yourself exhausted of all this frustration you have, and then start writing a gratitude journal. And if you're about 10 pages or 10 days into just writing out your grumpy thoughts, just turn the page and start writing gratitude. I believe you'll get exhausted. You will tire yourself by writing out frustration. You will either run out or just be like, this is silly. I'm really frustrated at so many things. So after about 10 pages, if you haven't exhausted yourself by then, turn the page in your journal book and start writing gratitude, and wake up in the morning or before you go to bed and write out the things that you're grateful for. I am grateful for that you got up in the morning. I'm grateful that you have a job to go to, that you have income, you have disposable income, I'm grateful that I'm understanding my dream. I'm grateful that my kids are doing well. I'm grateful that I'm a provider. Just scribble out all the things that you're grateful each day. And first of all, by discovering your gratitude, and again, what we write, we invite, is that you'll start changing a little bit of your mindset. If writing is a little bit difficult and you don't quite have the time, busy schedule and whatnot, one of the things I've implemented in my life is because I'm a fan of spreadsheets and calculations, and I just appreciate being able to keep track of things only because so much has happened in my life that I look back and I'm like, when did this happen? So if you want to do it on the quick, I like being grateful for three things. Now, mind you, I did all of these because I wanted to go further faster. I wanted to understand myself as soon as I could. And quite frankly, it did take some time. I did understand myself, but I also had a level of resentment for who I was and had trouble getting over the fact that who I was, how can I be something now? So I've been there, I've done that, and I'm sharing with you today that it is possible to get over whatever it is. So on the simple, you could do a spreadsheet of three things you're grateful for, that you have a car to go to work, that you had breakfast on the table, and that your kids are in good health. There's three things. You can keep track of some other things if those are goals in your life. One of the things I implemented was kind of a mood chart. I found that some days I was in a good mood, other days I wasn't. And that became something that was important to me. So for you, if it's your mood, I started at a 10. I was kind of in a bad mood most of the time. Started at a 10. Then I felt a little better. Realized, man, I really should improve myself by seeing this number. I wasn't happy with it. It's like, who wants to be a 10 when you could be a 20? So I started trying to figure out through the day how to make my mood better. And as I felt better, I said, you know what? I'm feeling better. I'm a 20. Now I'm a 450. So I've made great strides, and you can too. I'm sharing that with you today is that you can too. That being said, if the simple chart is something for you, great. I keep track of my sleep. I found that sleep's pretty important. So I keep a journal in my spreadsheet. I keep my sleep score so that I can kind of maintain, hey, I'm getting good sleep, or I'm not getting good sleep. I'm getting a lower sleep score. Again, these are help to unlock my potential is I'm getting good sleep, that I'm grateful for things, and that I'm implementing things in my life. If there's a drastic change that you're looking to make, say it's your weight, for instance, chart your weight and see progressively how you're going up and down. See how at the end of the week you might start gaining weight, or at the end of a weekend of being social and you think, yeah, a couple of extra slips of the diet aren't a big deal, that all of a sudden you're gaining weight and then you're losing it, you're gaining it, and systematically it seems to happen at the same time each week. That is demonstrating to you that you might need to change your behavior, or that letting a few slips occur isn't good. Again, whatever it is you're tracking, put that in a column and track it every day. I think a spreadsheet's one of the easiest. You can compile the dates on the left column, put in your three columns of grateful. In fact, I believe it's on the website, askadam.com, for the template. And you can put in the other columns of what it is you're tracking, whether it's your sleep, maybe it's your weight, maybe it's your mood. Um, Maybe it's something that you're trying to avoid. Maybe you don't like to smoke, and you're really trying this year to not smoke. Well, if you put a one each day that you have had a cigarette or a vape or whatever it was that you were consuming, that you're trying not to, put a one. And when you start seeing ones, you go, wow, that I just did it once, and now all of a sudden I'm doing it like every day of the week. And then you start visually seeing that you want blank spots, not ones. Or do the opposite. If you'd rather see ones, put a one at the day that you didn't do anything. Um, and that you avoided this thing that you're trying to avoid, so that you're seeing more ones than zeros. But anyway, I just think it's a quick way. You can implement this on a Google sheet, the spreadsheet, Excel sheet, smart sheet, whatever sheet that you prefer to work with. Uh, I find it helpful because I will, instead of scrolling social media, it's which seems to be what people do during that opportunity of alone time that we have in a particular facility. That's when I sit down and I'll put something on my phone and to keep track of that. So again, we're never too busy to implement things that are again tools that I've utilized to help unlock my true potential. So we've learned how to avoid the toxic 10. We've learned to journal things, start getting our ideas down, right? Because what we write, we invite. What we've looked at is also changing our mindset. And we've also looked at how to discover what it is that's our true potential. Well, if you're still having a little bit of trouble here, one of the things I found was to just get centered and just be okay being in a room by yourself, nothing going on. And it's good if you're not used to it, it's going to be hard at first. It really is, because you're going to want to hear some music. You're going to want to listen to someone talking. You're going to want the TV on in the background. It's kind of the culture of our society is to have background noise, it seems. But get into that space, get quiet, calm your breathing, and just get centered. Close your eyes. One of the visual ways, if you're a visual person and being quiet, is just kind of close your eyes and imagine that there is a white light that is coming from the above, coming into your head, to your head, down through your shoulders, out through your fingers, down through your chest, into the abdomen, through your waist, your hips, your legs, your thighs, your knees, calves, your feet, flat on the floor, and that light is going into the floor. And I want you to do that cycle about 3 times, where you invite the light into your head, comes down through your body, exits through your feet into the floor. It's going to come back through the floor into your feet, back through your body, and exits out of your head. You're going to do that 3 times of that cycle. Again, just be still, visualize it in your mind. Quite frankly, you'll feel it in your body, and go through that exercise. And then just be calm, quiet. You feel like you're getting wandering thoughts, go back to those 3 things that you were grateful for. Or if you're doing this prior to, say, what am I grateful for? And think, if you're going to think about something, think about what you are grateful for. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's the positive event that occurred in your life. Whatever it is, focus on that grateful gratitude. And I think being in that space of quiet, and if you are quite at peace at that quiet, that is when I have found some of the most profound things that have come up in my mind to help offer that direction of what is my potential? What is my gift? What is it that I'm supposed to do? And again, this was something that has quite frankly bothered me since I was 8 years old. And it took me several decades later of that constant pestering and finally getting in tune with the pestering of myself, telling myself, hey, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Hey, this is what you should be doing. Hey, how come you're not doing this? Several decades of nudges, as well as reading several books to understand a little bit about who I am and recognizing who I am and being still with myself and understanding all of that, that and a lot of meditation to control my emotions, to control, just my life in general. and to be more centered with myself, that it seems like things come much easier. You can see things coming from a mile away. So again, what's our practice? Either before or after, what we write, we invite. So scribble down some things that you're grateful. I personally, I like to sit down and go through the meditative exercise, white light through the body, 3 times cycle. I be quiet, I meditate, I get still. You're going to have some chatter. And until you can control the chatter by just going, yep, I know I need to get groceries for the week. Yep, I need to pay this bill, but I'm not going to do it now. I can do it later. And just tell yourself that. Put again, this is a new step that you're doing. So tell yourself, yeah, I know I have to do that. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. Once you start reminding your mind and your body that now's not the time to think about that, you will start to make space for that quietness. And when we make space, we allow things to fill in. So I like to meditate. Then I like to journal about what I was grateful, kind of like after a dream, you sketch things out. It's experiencing that quiet time. And a lot of that is also an experience of kind of rewiring things. So now I do that each day before I get started with my day. Now my day is great. I'm full of peace. I'm centered. I have that level of self confidence, not arrogance, but self confidence that I am me and I'm okay with me. The Stuart Smiley thing. If you ever go back to some of the old Saturday Night Live things. But anyway, getting off track. Be okay with you. Journal out what you're grateful for. It creates an immense amount of happiness. And we could go into a whole nother episode of just all of these activities and how they chemically affect you. And they're actually producing a much more healthier body for you to be in for your vessel. Note to self, that's going to be a whole nother episode we'll dive into. But nonetheless, these are just some starting steps. I hope you're not too overwhelmed, but again, these are just the starting steps that we're getting into because what is the goal is to find your true potential. So, that being said, gonna find peace, meditate for a moment, 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever your time allows. Then we're going to write down some things in a gratitude journal, or we're going to keep a gratitude chart. So we're going to write down just 3 words, 3 things, three whatever that you're grateful for. If you want to keep track of some other things, certainly the other columns are available for you. And then we're going to go about our day. And it may surprise you that in the middle of lunch or in the middle of your day, because you've started your day this way, you're going to come up with this idea or premonition about something. And you're going to go, wow, where did that come from? Just write it down, sketch it down on a notepad, on your phone, wherever. Just jot it down. Hey, that's an interesting thought. I got to remember that. We'll use it later, but just jot it down. Don't let it become a passing thought like paying the bill, such as earlier, like I'll get to that. Just make sure and write it down or digitally write it down, but make sure that you sketch it down. These are gifts. This is your true potential being gifted to you. The realization, the 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 mind finally releasing what it is you're supposed to do. The bubbling of the soul, if you will, coming to the surface and saying, "Hey, here's what you're supposed to be doing." So these are important. Write them down, take the note. I say that because we're busy with our days. We can't just stop and ruminate. Maybe you can, and bless you for that. But like I said, I think we all have really busy lives in today's crazy technical world. I know I was that way. Again, working 2 to 3 jobs, but I wrote things down and said, okay, I'll get to that later. Then at the end of your day, where you want to sit down and sketch out something before you go to bed about what you're grateful for that day. And that could be going back to your note and saying, "Oh yeah, wow, I'm supposed to do this. Wow, I'm grateful for the idea of doing this. Here's some things I think I could start doing to implement that." And those are those small little steps you're going to implement into your day, right? Is these things that are coming to you, you're going to start to see, and maybe not. Let's also be fair and understand that they're not necessarily going to just like be the stones in front of you that you know where to step forward, make taking your next step in this journey. It may be that you get the idea, you get the idea of what it is you want to do. Now you need to implement it. So it may be a couple of days of sort of harvesting or regurgitating that idea. So don't get frustrated. Just keep writing it down. Say, I know I'm kind of looking at doing this. How can I do it? How could I do it better? How could I get started? What do I need to do? And ask yourself those questions. So once you put that in place and you're asking yourself several questions, now you're going to start to see that those answers will come again during the day. Keep a notebook or a digital pad around that you can sketch down that, oh, yeah, there's that answer. And then at the end of the day, now you're implementing it in long form. Again, these are just some of the small steps that we can implement, as well as, like I mentioned earlier, just changing our mindset. You could have a great idea at lunch, and by the time you get home, you've convinced yourself you're not worthy. That's where the exercise of sitting, if you're sitting down, stand up. If you're stand up, turn around. You may look silly in the break room or in your office, and they'll say, "Hey, what's that? Are you studying dance class or something?" You say, "I'm okay. I'm I'm improving my life." So I hope that so much of this information hasn't been too overwhelming for you. Again, you want to start out with the morning mindset. You want to have that midday check-in where it's like, and again, don't get too upset if you haven't written something down. You're doing something completely different in your life, and that means there's a learning curve. So if you're sitting there at lunch going, I haven't written anything down, you go home and you're like, I haven't written anything down. It hasn't come to you. But let's also be fair and honest with ourselves that, are you doing the rituals in the morning? Are you doing the meditation? Are you doing the gratitude journal? Are you eating right? Are you adjusting your mindset? Are you getting yourself physically and mentally prepared for this? Because if you're not, then you're not going to get any thoughts. And if you do, you're not going to be prepared to write them down. And if you're not prepared to write them down, then you're not going to put them in place, and you're not going to write them out in long form. You're not going to sketch those out in a plan. You're not going to. And again, that's the big thing of procrastination, which is the huge big toxic 10, is procrastination. Everybody seems to be a member of the procrastination club. And I'm sharing with you today, and hopefully by implementing these, you will have avoided that first toxic tool of procrastination and chisel away at the other nine through the process. So your morning mindset, your midday check-in, and your evening reflection. So let me see if you can commit to the 7 days of your morning mindset, your midday check-in, and your evening reflection. All started out with the meditation, the gratitude journal or chart, and start to see where these things are implementing the change that you want in your life. Because you know what you want, it's already there. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope it's been filled with a vast amount of information. And I look forward to hearing from you how you've implemented these steps and how it's changing your life, as well as if there's some things that you're kind of like, I'm really, I got this far and I'm standing still. I could help you with that as well. I would look forward to doing so. You can always reach out at askadamlive.com. And again, Ask Adam is always seek knowledge. I hope this has been an immense amount of knowledge for you. I hope it makes your life better. Now let's go out and make it a great day. If you've enjoyed this episode or think someone else who you know would enjoy this episode and this information or just needs this little nudge in life, certainly ask, share with them to click like and subscribe. And I certainly look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Ask Adam, where we will dive deep into, excuse me, the power of purpose, finding your why. Again, each one of these things are being put together on your benefit. So we've unlocked our true potential. And next week, the power of purpose, finding your why. Now go out and make it a great day.